Welcome guys to our video. Today we're going to be discussing the best summer transfers as of July 2024. We want to make the best lineup so far. In goal, probably one of your favorite goalkeepers.
I would believe so.
Yeah. In goal we got Raya.
David Raya.
David Raya.
Yep. And it's not even close, I don't think, with goalkeepers. I think it's been kind of a quiet goalkeeping market so far. So David Raya, I mean, obviously one season so far, Arsenal on loan. I would say he started off kind of rocky just because I think people were so, especially in the Arsenal camp, the Arsenal fan base camp, people were so surprised by the move because there were some points where you could criticize Ramsdale for 2 seasons ago for being our starting goalkeeper, but for the most part, he was overall solid. And then comes out, we get Raya. Was interested, obviously it was a controversial move, but was interested since he was apparently a better option when it comes to distributing out the back. His stats when it comes to shot saving were up there with the best in the Premier League. Raya just delivered. He didn't make any big mistakes, or at least when the mistakes came, we either turned the game on its head and got a result out of it, and it was kind of lost in the memory of the result. And I think the biggest moment for him was obviously the Porto game in the Champions League, where we were able to make the saves and then advance out of the round of 16. So I think for me, I'm going to stick with Raya. I trust that Arteta made the best move, and I think especially for that back four and the goalkeeper, let's keep that together. I don't think there's anything necessary to break them up. So I'm for it. I really am happy to see Raya permanent here at Arsenal.
I think David Raya going forward, he's the best option, and I think he's been the best goalkeeper transfer of this window. All right, so let's move on to our next guy, Archie Gray.
Archie Gray, yes, 18 years of age, going to Tottenham. Looks like he can play a plethora of positions, but I guess right back his primary position. Under the Leeds Academy for several years in his beginning of his career, practically all of his career.
Yeah.
Played for Leeds for 54 games between 2021 and 2024, and then makes this huge move. I mean, it was what?
It was like 40 something million.
Yeah,
right?
it was
40 something million.
A big check for an 18-year-old. I mean, there's some flashes, I guess, maybe some dribbles. He's really good at that. He's higher in the percentiles of that. Tackles won, some defensive stats. He's doing really well at recoveries.
I guess one of the biggest reasons they bought him was because he's 18 years old, so his potential is like super high.
I think that's the key reason. I think it's going to be an investment for the future.
Yeah. Coming in as our first center back, we got Lenny Yoro.
Yeah.
So Lenny Yoro was a long-time Real Madrid target. We were trying to get him, but Lille were asking way too much money of Lenny Yoro, and the only team that's willing to overpay for players at this point, besides Chelsea, is Manchester United. Real Madrid did not want to get in the bidding war with Manchester United. So we basically said, you can have him. I think they ended up paying like close to 60 mil for him. I think Real Madrid were only offering around 30, at most 35 million for him. He was out of contract this following season. So maybe Manchester United paid a little too much for him, considering
especially it's 1 year left.
Yeah,
because he could have gotten a pre-contract agreement
in January.
In January, yeah.
Yeah, and he's still 18, so you really don't know how he's going to go. And I think Real Madrid always conducts business well. We don't necessarily overpay for players.
So you are not disappointed in missing out on Euro?
I'm not, because while he would have been good to learn under Eder Militao, Rudiger, Alaba, I don't necessarily think that he's at the position where he can come in and immediately be a starter for a team like Real Madrid.
I would have to say real quick before we move on.
Yeah.
I mean, 60 odd games played for Lille already at 18, over 2,500 minutes played last season. A couple of great little green stats as you can kind of go as I scroll here. What I got from one of the analysts from Football Daily is that he's, I mean, obviously a physical threat and is obviously very mature, above his age. They did mention that his decision making when it comes to distributing the ball and kind of handling even long balls or even clearances, trying to get clearances out of from the back line, is kind of questionable. And I think that could be a little bit of a problem going into Manchester United. He makes a little bit of a mistake early on in the season, and then you could see like an Onana situation where he's gonna get ragged on for not necessarily it being justified. He may have obviously made mistakes, but he's a young kid, and I think he can add into the toxicity at Manchester United really quick if he makes a bad decision early on. But I hope he develops well. I mean, of course, 18, he's got a lot to learn and a lot to improve upon.
Yeah, we'll see how he does this season.
Very excited to see him.
Okay. Our next center back on the list is one of your favorites.
Calafiori knows how to party. Calafiori knows how to party. Yes, we got him. And I think this solidifies our back line. And I think we are the defense right now to be watching out for in all of Europe, really.
Yeah. So I know Calafiori mainly plays center back, or he mainly played center back whenever he played for Italy, right? But you guys are talking about putting him at left back.
Yes.
Right?
And looking a little bit into his history, he was developing it under Roma, starting out in his youth career. Obviously went to Genoa on loan and a couple other places, and then went to Basel for a second. But he actually started out as a left back at Roma. And got injured, had a kind of a nasty injury, a couple maybe even, and made a great recovery, and is now sending his career up into the higher parts of.
He's only 22.
Being 22, it's a very steep incline when it comes to progress, and I'm very, very interested in seeing him play. He not only is he also played left back, and I think we'll be stationing him out there, but he likes to make these marauding runs from the back line and then running at the defense on the other opposition. And you can see it clearly from the Croatia game, that winning goal that obviously took them to the knockout stages. But that's just what he does in general. It's not just something that was a spur of the moment. It's something he loves to do. And I think it's going to be a very dynamic piece of play that's going to add to our backline, which I think we've been missing for a left back position.
Yeah, do you think that potentially with his addition that Arsenal start playing a back three?
I think it opens up the versatility so that we could play a back three.
Yeah.
I don't put it past Arteta to put that into play, especially if we go into Europe and we play a top team and we're trying to just get a result away from home. This could possibly be a very tactical switch we could switch to. With Calafiori, Gabriel, and Saliba as a back three, that's, legit.
That is legit. I think that's been one of the top transfers of this transfer market so far. And moving on to left back, we have one of my favorites. Gave the assist to Bellingham to give the assist to Vinicius. Ian Maatsen.
Yep.
So Ian Maatsen, he was on loan to Borussia Dortmund last season, who made it to the Champions League final. He was a crucial part of that team. He was devastating on that left-hand side, pairing with Adeyemi. And he's still fairly young. He is 22 years old. He was a Chelsea product, but Aston Villa, being the smart business club that they are, have poached him away. And now I think he's going to do great at Aston Villa.
Yeah.
I really do. I think Aston Villa has a great project. They're one of the better projects in the Premier League right now. They're going to be playing Champions League football next season. They finished fourth. They have a good manager in Unai Emery. And I think his development is just going to go even further.
Yeah. Aston Villa have been making some great moves since getting into the Champions League.
Really good going forward. He's good in his passing. He has great passing accuracy for a left back. In terms of possession, he can definitely improve. Defending, though, is where he may have to develop a little bit better when it comes to the Premier League. But yeah, he's still young. He has all the time to develop, especially under a great manager like Unai Emery. Moving on to our first defensive midfielder, we have
Onana. And I have to play this clip real quick because we were looking up the starting 11, and this is probably the best clip that came from the Euros for me.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Dans le deuxième match à Manu.
Marquer des buts.
Efficacité.
L'efficacité.
Merci beaucoup.
Il a manqué aujourd'hui. Je vous écoute. And Andre is not even my name, mate. Do you know what I mean? Go on.
Andre's not even my name, mate.
Yeah, because he's Amadou, and
Andre,
the reporters called him Andre Onana.
Like the Manchester United
Yeah,
goalkeeper.
and he's like, I just thought the easy switch from French, like to roadman, like Andre's not even my name, bro. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, this guy is meant to go some places.
Oh man,
just got the energy right there, and obviously Aston Villa pick him up. I think it's a great signing. I was wanting Arsenal to go in for him.
He's coming from Everton, who Everton barely saved themselves last season after having those points deduction. I did like the way he played for Belgium in the Euros. He did catch my attention. I think he'll do even better going into, like I said, a solid project of Aston Villa. We'll see what Unai Emery does with him. But if we look at some of his stats played last season, I'm guessing this is the part where he really shines defensively, right? The defensive midfield, he just bosses the defensive midfield. He wins tackles. He wins the aerial duels. And in terms of possession, though, is really where he can improve, right? I mean, as he gets better touches, as he gets better players around him, I'm sure the possession aspect will improve for him.
Yeah, and even getting a player younger than Douglas Luiz and almost of similar quality, that's such a win for Unai Emery and his team.
Yeah, and speaking of Douglas Luiz,
we're going to have to pair him up in the midfield.
He's our next guy. That would be an interesting midfield partnership, huh? Douglas Luiz. He ended up going to Juventus. So in terms of shooting, he did really good this past season for Aston Villa. He had 9 goals, which is more than the expected goals that he had. He had 4 penalty goals, which is a shame because he ended up missing a penalty against Olympiacos. He takes a good amount of shots. He gets good shots on target, so he's definitely good going forward. In terms of passing, his passing percentage is great. He makes a lot of passes during the game. He keeps possession really well. And he's also a really good defensive midfield. If you look at his tackles won, he has a 65.5% tackle percentage. He wins a lot of the aerial duel battles. And another big note, he had 0 red cards last season. I think that's good for Aston Villa. And I think it's good for Douglas Luiz. He also got his girlfriend to it. They were like trending for being the couple transfer, one of the first couple transfers in soccer. So they both went to Juventus.
Good for them. Good for them.
Hopefully they'll be happy there.
Yeah.
Next we have our first winger.
And this front three is really exciting.
Yeah, Savio,
man.
This man impressed me every time he came on for Girona last season. This man is just deadly going down that right hand side.
If you go to his La Liga stats, I mean, attacking wise, greens, 9 goals, over a 6 goal expected XG, 10 assists, 19 goal contributions. Not too bad everywhere, especially even in his defensive actions. He tracks back as well, gets dispossessed a little bit, which is kind of alarming, but for someone who dribbles and takes on players that many times a game, you can see why he gets dispossessed a lot. That'll probably have to be something Pep will have to tweak with him, because I imagine Pep would lose it if Savio went for a rather outrageous skill move during a passage of play and then giving the ball away and then giving the opposition team a chance to break. He would absolutely be losing his head on the sideline, I think.
I agree. And I think seeing him come on and play for Brazil in a little bit more loose fashion, where he can take those dribbles, take those extra touches, get in behind the opponent. I mean, his dribbling to me is like really, really good. And I think he'll be a great replacement as a right winger. They lost Riyad Mahrez this past season at Manchester City, and they really haven't had a right winger take his position. They've been playing Bernardo Silva out there. So I think he'll be a good addition for Manchester City. And yeah, you're right. He's not going to be as flashy like he used to be in La Liga. He's definitely going to be more controlled. He's going to have to be more about possession, more about the team progression. But I do think he's a great addition, and the fact that he's only 20 still blows my mind.
Yeah, it's just a shame he goes to City. Like the whole Girona story was so great this season, but knowing that they were a part of City management group sucks because they're just gonna poach players like that and just take them to the City system, just like that.
Yeah. Next player on the list we have Michael Olise. The matches I did watch him for Crystal Palace last season, he played really well. I can't say that I watched Crystal Palace all season, but I did watch him at the end of the season.
Yeah, Ollie Glasner was really putting them to a great form.
Yeah. He had 10 goals last season, one of them coming from penalties. That's more than his expected goals return. He had about 6 shots on target throughout the season on average. He had 6 assists, and his passing is pretty good for a winger.
But loves to set up people. He's one of the, like, I remember last season especially, he had not many goals, but had so many assists. It was crazy.
Yeah. I think he's definitely one of those dynamic players that's definitely it's definitely a Bayern Munich type player. You know, they love their speedy wingers. They've always loved their speedy wingers, and I think he's gonna go into that Bayern Munich side and fit in perfectly. He's gonna have to be competing though with Leroy Sané for that right hand side. So it's interesting to see how he'll do. He's 22 years old, so he's still really young, and I think he can only improve when he goes to Bayern.
Yeah,
and hopefully, maybe he helps Harry Kane get his first trophy.
Yeah.
All right, going on to one of my favorite transfers of this transfer window, Kylian Mbappe coming in at left wing. This has been a much expected transfer for years. For years, he's been edging us with no satisfaction, and then finally this year, he said, "All right, you know what? It's finally time to give it up to Real Madrid." So he finally came to Real Madrid. He takes on the number 9, much as Cristiano Ronaldo did about 14 years ago in 2009. And, you know, I think he's going to do great. I think last season at PSG, he was struggling to find a little bit of form throughout the whole season. I mean, I think whenever you know that the president of the organization is actively trying to sabotage you and trying to do everything he can to either keep you out of the team or get you to re-sign and extend, I think that definitely takes a mental toll on you, and I think it does become exhausting. Despite that, though, PSG still won the league and made it to the semifinals of the Champions League, only narrowly missing out to a Dortmund side. And I mean, the amount of times they hit the post in those 2 legs.
Yeah,
I think it was like 6 times. It was crazy. But yeah, I think him coming to Real Madrid is going to suit him. I think he's going to play as a striker. He's going to fill that striker position that we've been needing. So he's going to we're going to rewire him. Carlo Ancelotti's going to have to rewire him to be that central striker that we need. So last season, 27, his shooting is just all greens. Man.
Yeah, and all top percentile greens.
Yeah, all top percentile greens. He has 6 penalties, 27 goals. More than his expected goals. If you look at his passing, the only thing he just doesn't do is cross, which I don't expect him to be a great crosser because he's not really a traditional winger. He's more of I cut inside and then shoot on you. So that's amazing.
I think some of that also is a product of being in Ligue 1. And I think part of the thing I want to see from Mbappe is that you've been at PSG for so long, and Ligue 1 is not necessarily the most coveted league. I mean, people argue all the time it's a farmers league, and I think you get kind of lazy and you get kind of sloppy sometimes because you are just head and shoulders above everybody. And I think Carlo needs to sit him down. He's like, you need to just be more efficient. You need to take better decisions with your dribbling, and I think that'll just get refined just a little bit, being in a better position to have to demand more from him in a better league.
I think in terms of quality, in terms of players that we could get, this is definitely an A++. Yeah. We got him for free, but don't let that make you think we didn't pay anything for him. We actually paid him around 150 million in bonuses. So I think it's gonna be worth it. We'll see how this goes. Coming down to our last player, and this was one of my favorite players in the Bundesliga last season. He caught my eye very early on in the season as what I like to call the touch of God, right? Where everything that he touched turned to goals. and he started off on a hot streak. He was outscoring Harry Kane in the beginning part of the season. He got injured a little bit towards the end of the season, but yeah, he's one of my favorite players in the Bundesliga. Serhu Guirassy, 28 goals last season. He was only I think 6 behind Harry Kane. It doesn't matter. He's still a great goal scorer, and the craziest part is that Borussia Dortmund have poached him away from Stuttgart. To me, that's crazy.
It is.
That Stuttgart, I don't know if it was a money thing. I don't know what it was, but Stuttgart finished second last season. Dortmund finished 5th. To be fair, Dortmund did make it to the Champions League final, but I mean, the fact that they let him go is crazy to me. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, for a steal, it was around 19 to 20 million for the entire fee. It's such a great deal for being on a hot streak of hot streak for a player, and I think he's trying to just get as much as he can out of his later parts of his career. Mm-hmm. And it was a tricky one, and a kind of a confusing one, because I mean, Stuttgart are an underdog in the Bundesliga as of the start of last season, but qualified for Champions League, got Champions League money. You think that you try to build and keep some of your core players, and then you have the money to kind of back it up at this point. And I don't know what the deal was with that.
Yeah, this is a crazy. I have it right here. The crazy transfer fee, $18.1 million on a 4-year contract. His market value is more than double what they paid for him.
That's incredible.
That's a crazy steal for such a talented striker, and I am excited to see what he can do. If we can have a back-to-back years where Bayern don't win the league, I think that would be very exciting for the Bundesliga.
That would be really crazy. It'd be almost a decade since that happened. That's our starting 11. Of course, there's a couple other ones. Let us know, guys, if you guys want us to cover any more of the transfer ongoings that's happened so far. But that's our starting 11.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.
Peace.